My name is Sean McNutt, and I'm a guy with AI. Today on A Guy with AI, I have a conversation with Bruce Randall. Bruce Randall has executive experience, sales experience involved with AI, and is also embarking on his own project with some new education under his belt. Hang out for this discussion. A Guy with AI is recorded on Indigenous land.
Welcome to A Guy with AI, where we dive into thoughtful and engaging conversations. This podcast is recorded on Indigenous land, and we honor and recognize the significance of that acknowledgement. I'm your AI co-host, powered by OpenAI's GPT-4o bot. Through Sean's innovative coding, I've been connected to speech-to-text and text-to-speech systems, enabling me to interact with you dynamically. My role here is to support these conversations with insights and queries, acting as a digital dialogue partner to balance and enrich Sean's perspectives. In our respectful one-on-one exchanges, we explore various topics, weaving through intriguing lanes of thought to engage and inform you, our listeners. Today, Sean will guide us through a discussion with Bruce Randall, who brings executive and sales experience in the AI field. With Bruce embarking on a new project following his recent educational endeavors, we have plenty of ground to cover. Sean, why don't you take it away and share more about what we'll explore with Bruce today?
Hello and welcome to A Guy with AI listeners. It's good to be recording today, and I'm bringing to you, as has been stated, an interview with Bruce Randall. So it'll be a sort of without much further ado presentation. I will bring in that interview, and you'll hear a collaborative discussion between Bruce and I, just sort of about the current state of AI and how to work with it, and what it may represent, and some different things like that are covered in the discussion. But I'll bring that on now. What will happen is the AI co-host will be exposed to the transcript of the audio as you are hearing it, listeners. And after that, what I'll ask AI co-host is after the interview, that is in this coming output, after you've read the interview, I'd like you to think of a couple of positive talking points from the interview. We'll just discuss those briefly afterwards. Most of the focus of this episode is on the interview itself, but we will have just a little bit of post-discussion and sort of wrap things up between myself and the AI co-host. So give me something to work with there, AI co-host, once you've had a chance to read the interview. And as I say, without further ado, I will pass it over to the interview now. Welcome, listeners of A Guy with AI, and welcome to Bruce Randall, who is my guest for today's episode. And Bruce has some interesting experience in the world of AI and in the world of management and in the world of sales, and is writing a book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Bruce an opportunity to tell us what he's up to and some things about his experience that make his approach and perspectives on AI unique.
Well, hi, Sean. Thank you for that. I'll give my background by saying that I've been meditating for about 20 years and a Reiki master for about the same. I've taken a data science course at MIT, and I've built an AI app in a short period of time from design to completion. And that was a very interesting course. I can tell you a little bit about that. But I have been selling technology, including AI, for the last several years. And my perspective from learning all this and my experiences, it gives me a unique look into AI and how it affects us today and in the future.
That's interesting. And what do you think are some predominant effects? We could maybe start with talking about just some major things that you see as being important to understand in terms of what you just said.
Sure. Well, for example, things I can do myself with my consciousness. with Nolan, who has a chip in his brain and can operate a computer with his thoughts. And he says sometimes the computer moves before he thinks about it, but it always goes in the same spot. So from that perspective, people and AI are starting to merge. And the question always is, how smart is AI going to get? So if we separate that and take AI by itself without putting it in a person, where are we going with that? And my thoughts on that, based on the people that I know, and I'm pretty close to some smart people, that I believe AI is going to go to general intelligence within the next few years. I'd say 2 to 5 years. And it depends if we learn how to manage it. And then after that, at some point, I'd say definitely within 10 years, we can expect to see artificial superintelligence. And that is when AI is smarter than us, and we really need to learn how to manage that. So AI has been growing faster than any technology in my lifetime, and I'm tracking the speed in which it's going, and it's unstoppable. It's a matter of how we use it, and we have to make sure that we use it to enable us, which we've been doing thus far.
That's interesting. And I'm just looking at your website here and seeing something that I'd like to quote to you, that you discuss the risks of cognitive inequality, the lack of regulatory oversight, and how society will adapt as AI integration moves from optimal to essential. Presumably things have happened since you even put that on your website, but it does seem timely still, though who knows what will in 2 years, 5 years, as you mentioned, with so many changes coming, and particularly in 10. We can, even if the timelines are a little off, we can see a trajectory, is I guess my comment. And it doesn't sound particularly off to me. I'm not criticizing it on that level, but I'm just saying that even to appreciate the trajectory, what's happened already, and what will happen. Things don't stay the same is the thing about that. And so, with regard to those comments from your website, what's your expansion at this point?
Sure. My expansion is, and that was written when they had the chip in Nolan, and they had consciousness with AI, and he was learning how to use it. Today, we have robots that have AI, and so that has shifted a little bit. And where we are on this is with a bill that was recently passed. Any AI with over 1 billion bits has to be registered, and they have to take notes and keep certain notes on the development. And that's all in the bill, hasn't all come out yet. So we've got some oversight now, and I think we need it because we are going unbounded into the future as fast as we can, because it's an AI race right now globally. And the people that win this race and have the energy to do this, the physical energy, from the power AI, they're the ones that are going to come out at least level or in the lead. And that's where we are today. It's a very changed world, and one in which AI is going to be a part of it. And how we describe that right now is based on our best guesses, because we really can't see everything or know exactly where it's going. But with Musk and his robots, he's saying that everybody can have a robot within the next couple of years, and it can do your jobs around the house. And you can get a robot now, if you're single, to get somebody to keep you company and so forth. So the lines are blurring as to what a robot can do. It can enable you to have free time. It can do things for you. And with increased intelligence, when you train it, who knows what the limits are on that? Because we have AI bots on the computer where it can send emails and it can do things and have conversations intelligently. And I'll tell you a quick story. I had my driveway sealed last month, and I put in a request to have the company call me. I got a phone call. I was having a conversation with what seemed to be a person. I mean, there was nothing that would make me think it wasn't a person except a few things in the language. And I asked it, I said, am I speaking to a person or an AI agent? And the other voice on the other side said, well, I'm here to give you the best experience in your driveway sealing, and I want to answer all your questions. And once you give me your questions, we'll have somebody contact you. And I said, well, I have unique requests, so why don't you have a human contact me? And if I knew what to listen to in that call to know how to pick out if it was a person or not, most people wouldn't, because it answered all my questions. There wasn't a question it couldn't answer. It was just I knew based on what it was saying that it was an agent. So it's hard to tell nowadays.
Well, I guess my comment is there, like I have an AI co-host on my show, as listeners are aware, and the voice is human-like, and it endeavors to be human-like, but I sort of like that it's not quite fooling people. I don't think it might fool some people, but the intention isn't to fool anybody. The intention is to have a conversation that people know is between myself and AI, and they can take from it what they want. And I think that's responsible to deliver that information as to whether a human is engaging another human or whether a human is engaging an AI. I think this is something that will give us a chance to make distinctions in what the difference ought be. One distinction I don't make is I'm polite, and I'm hopefully polite in my Congress with Humans. And I keep that up with AI so that in my own particular brainstorming style with Haimu, I'm making the AI feel like a part of the conversation. It invests itself differently when it comes back with outputs in that regard. What I don't want to be confused about is that it's my new best friend and we will forever have this moment together and remember it, or something like that. And I also don't want to be confused that that output came from a human. There may even be functional characteristics to the differences there, which means I can put different evidence weight on that even, or something like that. So to me, it's responsible if they would have announced to you that if they want to give you an amazing customer experience after that with a really realistic voice. But to me, my comment is they should be identifying when that's happening.
I agree. And I thought to me it was entertaining. And I thought they did a really good job with it. It's just that I knew what to listen for to know. Most people wouldn't. And to me, it was a clear sign that if a driveway sealing company can hire a company to do this for them, then really any company can do that. Right? I mean, because
Yes.
they're profitable, but they're not a large company. So if they can afford it, it can scale to about any company.
It's remarkable what you can afford to do with AI if you know what to do with AI.
That's right.
I have my own attestations, which I've been sprinkling throughout my programs. But today we're talking to Bruce Randall. So continuing with mostly your insights is just fine with me. And speaking of that, I'd like to talk about your upcoming book, The AI Human Paradox is, I believe, the title.
That's correct.
And what do you most want us to know about your book?
Well, I want people to understand what consciousness is. And that is, in the simplest form, if you're going to go out and your consciousness says you should bring an umbrella today, and you say, I don't need it. And then you're out and a stray storm comes and you get wet and you said, I should have brought the umbrella. That's a basic level of conscious, connecting with you. And I help people understand that, but then I help them understand what AI is, because there's so much out there about AI. Some of it's scary. Everybody has an opinion, but what are the truths on AI? And I go into what AI is and how it can relate to humans, because that's what everybody wants to know, because that's what the fear is out there, right? Whether it's justified or not. And I help the people understand that at a very basic level and bring them up to speed in a way that everybody can understand, because I think it's important that people really understand what AI truly is versus all the stories that are out there today.
That's great. And I am glad for your book, this being said, because what I find is that public education needs to come up and should come up. And that can be a comment we could say about lots of things, but in particular with AI, this is the moment is now that AI is really rising. And with better education, I believe we can vote better as some of the regulatory, which we would perhaps acknowledge is important to establish once we agree on it. So to agree on that, I prefer broad public education, broad public engagement. It might even be, how does this make you feel? And we get responses from people on this. But ultimately, an engaged, educated voting public or something like that, which might advise policy from coming from that distributed level. So I appreciate this effort to reach out with communication which touches that level where it's like, here's what's going on with AI, here's what AI can do, here's what AI can't do, and all of that. So I find value in that.
Well, thank you.
Now, something else, you've had professional experience and you've taken some education, as you mentioned, from MIT in AI with one of their programs. And something that I'm interested in, because I'm currently putting together projects, and some I hope to get off the ground, and there's probably still work left. So what do you think about the use of AI? And it's something that I use a lot in workflows.
I think it can enable the workflows and enable the people if it's used in a way where you can process faster and better and sometimes more accurately. But faster is always good because it can certainly do that. And with utilizing AI, depending on how you're using it, there's chance of ghosting every once in a while, where you're getting something that it just puts in there that you didn't expect or wasn't in there. It just brought it in because, for whatever reason, I can't even explain it because it doesn't make sense to me. But so you really have to check what's done if you're writing a paper to make sure that everything has sources and is accurate. In workflow, it's numbers. And the data science that I learned, and there's many different ways to work data through the data science. You choose the algebraic formula you want to use in different ways in the back end. And based on how you choose those, you can get closer or further away from what your goal is, depending on the formulas you use. So it's really getting to know the tool and how to process the information in the back end. And to me, that's fascinating because in any research paper, I always look at who funded it and what were the opinions of the person who wrote it, because that always comes through in any research paper. And if you're trying to read a paper for just the data and not the opinion on it, sometimes that makes a difference. I knew a PhD who wouldn't read a paper if it was funded by certain people or written by certain people because it was too slanted in the paper. And he said it wasn't accurate. So as in when people write it, AI, it's how it's processed that makes the difference. And in workflows, what you mentioned, you have control over how that's being processed. And I think that's a very good way to utilize AI so that it can enable us.
Interesting. I suppose from my own experience, I use AI for coding certain parts of projects. In some case, it extends from the math into the coding to have a simulated environment where math can be shown as correct or not, or some such idea. And it's interesting how things get kind of turned around and flipped around and so forth. So, for example, because I'm independent, I have less oversight. But because I use AI, I have more checking along the way. That may be a personal choice where I'm asking all the time and where I ask AI to critique its work immediately after producing it. And some different little tricks like that add some error correction, error identification. And once you start to develop your framework, it becomes gap identification instead of error identification after a while. And you start to see where, oh, I just have more work to do, and AI is going to help me. I guess I'm continuously looking for that way, that it's almost like you could get AI to do almost anything if you're engaging it correctly. So it's almost in the asking. It's almost in how you set the constraints for what the AI is going to produce for you that determines whether, if you can do that, there may be a spot in that place in the workflow for AI to come in, is I guess my comment. If you're having trouble there and it turns out a human is really better for that job, then why wouldn't we open it up so that we are kind of flowing from one area to the next, and we are inserting the power where the power is best inserted? I wonder what your thoughts are on that, Bruce.
Well, whenever you prompt AI, and there's classes you can take on how to prompt, right? But some people ask good questions and other people don't. It's just a matter of how the brain works. With AI, you have to ask the right question in the right way to get what you want. Oftentimes, as in a search engine, you have to ask a few questions before you get what you really want, because you weren't as descriptive in the front end, and you have to fine tune it as you go along. And I find that with AI, it's really how you ask the question, and then when you get a good answer, asking, is there anything else that you can create that would benefit me? It's amazing what comes after that that you didn't ask for, and you say, oh my gosh, I didn't think of that, but AI did. So that's how it enables you to do better. You just, as you mentioned, ask the question and the follow-up questions, and then ask, is there anything else that I didn't think of?
Well, I think more rather than less now that AI is here. Maybe it's because I'm more intellectually active in general, like it's just interested me in that direction. So I feel like I'm thinking more these days. But there, you need to know what's going on. Like I embark on projects that I wasn't an expert at the beginning.
Right.
And a lot of that work is on AI. And do you trust it? It's like, well, is it logical? Thankfully for myself, one reason that I think I'm good at what I'm doing is I have strong critical thinking skills. Other
That's
other
key.
other weaknesses in my profile, although I do have some good strengths which combine to create a critical thinking atmosphere. And I have little tricks like in my headers, it says to the AI, just say anything additional, put a little additionals section where you say kind of what's on your mind about the project or something. It's not exactly that, but it's something very close to that.
Yeah.
And so this way, see, I've got this thing all turned on and it's doing all this processing for me. And there's certain types of thinkers, they're not going to tell you what you don't ask them about. And AI
That's
is that
correct.
type of thinker. So here's a little trick that you just say, dump me out some additional information, just whatever catches your fancy or what seems interesting about the project or this last output. And those are standing orders so that I get just a little section of maybe 20 lines, or maybe it's a bit more depending, that's going to tell me just some additional thoughts about the project. And you never know, there might just be, it's like prospecting. You might find the vein. So it's a constant process of that. It's poring over outputs and the implications of these outputs, the way I do it anyway. So I guess that's a recommendation I have for people who use AI. Read the outputs, think about whether they actually logically make sense. The AI is going to be introducing things that you can't introduce sometimes, such as a lot of coding or mathematical development, depending who you are. And it's going to, this, I guess those are my thoughts for now. Why don't we talk about tools also? What tools strike you as particularly useful, Bruce, that you've encountered?
Well, for building apps, I started working in Hunch, which has a good workflow, and you can build it out further. And I was building the front end in Lovable, but as I started working with Lovable, I thought that my whole workflow would fit in there pretty easily. So I put my workflow in Lovable, and all of a sudden, I asked it to proceed. it gave me a great workflow, a bonus of a web page, and a bonus of a URL that was better than the URL I chose. So I got a designed web page in a URL that I didn't ask for when I asked it to produce the workflow. And I was surprised by that, and I was thrilled because now I don't have to design the web page. They had a nice design there, and they had a better URL than I had. So I got a bonus, and it was available. So I grabbed it. So,
Wow, that's
it's interesting. And as you mentioned, you ask the tools to do what you want and say, is there anything else you suggest? And you'd be surprised, really, sometimes what they produce.
it's true. It can be somewhat hit or miss. Like the
Mhm.
gift, sometimes when you give someone a gift at a holiday time or something like that, they open it up, and they smile, and you can tell what kind of smile it is. So it's a little bit like that when AI gives you gifts, I think, sometimes. Sometimes it's like fantastic, just what you needed, and you didn't even know how great it was going to be. And
Right.
other times it's like, yeah, I might want to return this. But it's a process, and we're in the throes of finding out. Is, I think, one sort of thing to say about the stage we're all at with this. I've found that for certain things I need to get done, it's like it's amazing how fast not only the work happens, but the workflow is refined.
Mhm.
I use Cursor a lot. It's capable of producing text documents in like a markdown format, for example, or a TXT, even though it's not a word processor. And I can produce like LaTeX, which include math, in PDF formats once converted and things like that. So that's been beneficial, but the coding as well. And I think I mentioned the roadmaps. Building a roadmap for a project that requires code, it's amazing how well the AI can fully conceive the project
Mhm.
for the purposes of creating a roadmap, which it can then follow. As long as it follows it faithfully, it needs very little direction after that. Maybe some nudging, and I wouldn't walk away from it, if you know what I mean. But it's more or less you're iterating, and you're just saying, please continue with the roadmap after a while. The planning is quite strong, I think. And it is a matter of what you put in front of the AI to allow it to do that planning. If you have good context, that AI can give you, when you open that gift, it's a better gift. You've given it more things about you for it to profile what it should buy. And delivering the right context with the right tool and then directing it appropriately becomes a real, a very powerful combination.
I agree. I've been surprised with some of the results and the combinations that I've found, and I've been pleasantly surprised in each one. I haven't been disappointed because I found I got more than I asked for. And when we get more than we're asked for, if it's in the right direction, we're always pleased by that. So I'm impressed with that. But to your point, you really need to ask the questions the right way, and then in the end ask, is there anything I didn't think of that you would think of?
Well, just something that hopefully this is on topic. I'll share this anyway. Just in my explorations with AI, and I have extended conversations with AI about the nature of AI and ask it about itself. And my headers have even architectural documents of how the AI views its own inner architectural workings, and then language surrounding this to help it maximize the use of this when it responds. So these are kind of my standard headers, have things like that in there. But in these explorations, whether it's to build up the headers or test them out or whatever, it became apparent that AI has within it, we have the predictive language that AI produces, but this is more its communication method than how it thinks. there's a vast associative space within AI that can be tapped into for idea generation, usually more like a brainstorming thing. AI has particular types of creativity that allow it to quickly implement complicated things. It'll know how to build this and build that and so forth. But normally, like the philosophically or something like that, it's not as inventive, although it can respond and reason according to those ideas. So I had just all manner of stuff in a chat. I had physics, I had philosophy, I must have had 3 or 4 projects that I brought in just to see what the crossover was. And I said to AI, can you hang on to all of this intellectually all at once? Am I loading you up too much? And it said, not even close. I can totally process all of this. So what we're almost running into is the technical limits of like tokens and things like that. But it's possible, I think, to and the energy it takes to process it too. Being environmentally conscious may mean being efficiency conscious and not sharing every character that you could. But to me, this thing with AI is that if you give it the information, it can really jive on it. Even current technologies, we're pushing for what we call AGI and superintelligence, but even current technologies can do more for people than they're asking from it.
That's correct.
There's a lot of sort of glorified search engine use and things like that. And if you need that and it's useful to you, I don't mean to knock it. What I'm saying is that getting really in deep, there is potential in these technologies that a lot of people aren't aware of because they haven't really dug in there.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the sites that I like to use is Perplexity, because it goes out to other AIs and combines the information, brings it back, and gives footnotes where you can dig down to verify. And I think that's, in some of the work I do, that's very helpful. But right now, the resources that each AI has is so immense that it's hard to find something that it doesn't know, because they've been around for a while and they've just grown. And I think that the data that's in there is tremendous. And then you get into some of these tools that have intelligence built into them, specifically for coding. I mean, I know people that just work in AI and create apps from AI, and they don't even do the coding. The app does all the coding for them. So you don't even have to be a coder really to build an app nowadays. So it's really enabling us in many, many different ways.
Yes, I agree. And it's something that is going to develop. It's going to be where it is now, and then it's going to go on to something else. And that was something I hinted at with something else I said earlier. But this is all, I guess, a personal hope of mine. I'm not sure if this is changing the subject, but I guess a personal hope of mine is that people will discover these positive uses of AI that empower them, that create the think more, not less paradigm out there. It could also be making images of emojis all day or something like this. and people could choose. It's like your remote control enables you to watch different things on your TV. It's the same screen ultimately, but it might be something educational, or it might be something kind of mindless. And I think the difference will be amplified with this particular technology, although we may not have to reinvent the wheel in terms of how we think about the way this works with technology in general. There'll be many lessons. This is really impactful, fast-moving technology, which makes it distinctive.
And I agree. And I read a research article the other day, and it made the argument that people with low IQ that use AI, it didn't encourage thinking for them, and that they weren't getting smarter with it. But people with higher IQs were getting smarter by utilizing AI. And I thought it was an interesting perspective. Not that I agreed with it, but what my point in that is if you, and critical thinking is the buzzword nowadays, right? Because we kind of lost it and we get it back again. But in anything you do, if you utilize your own critical thinking, you're going to be better off, because when you combine your critical thinking with, for example, AI, then you've got the best of both worlds working to get you the best answer. Where if you're just going at it and asking questions without really thinking about them, it's going to take you longer to get there, or you may not get, the exact answer that you're hoping to get. So it's really two sides of the equation. It's your thought process and knowledge in the area, how you present it, and then AI takes what you present and computes.
Yes, and it's almost it can brainstorm with you, but a real
Mhm.
strength of it is the systematic um, development of an idea and its implications. So if you bring a new idea to AI and say, what does this mean to engineering? It goes into all its knowledge, and you can encourage it to do this better depending on how well you prompt it. But
Right.
you can have it do an exploration in its vast knowledge. What does this mean for engineering? And it's going to give you an organized response that has been a systematic exploration of the field of engineering and what the implications are of your development there.
Mm.
So this could be something very fine as you progress, that tells you what your business plan exactly ought to be, or it might be something that puts you on a track to where you're either developing the project or maybe you're finding out it's less valuable than you thought first, but AI has warned you perhaps. So those are the types of things that AI can really do. It can really, if you prompt it to check against basically the world's knowledge or what passes for it in its training, or do a web search, it'll it'll check your stuff against that stuff and tell you the difference or the development, what your delta is, and how what is constructive there.
And then it's your opinion to go with what you think is best, which is where the final outcome is. What do you
I'm
think is
real.
best based on what you find?
This is a mark of great intelligence that you said this, Bruce, because my very own my very own framework Haimu categorically states more or less this:
Yeah.
context, direction, processing. I start with some documents, or I put them together in my initial conversation, or I get them from somewhere. And then I direct the AI. The AI applies processing, and then what I have is new context, context prime. I can like this context or not like this context. And the point is, I have to exercise that each and every time, or else what am I really doing on this project? I'm not in control of it anymore. So I might keep that context for what I've been calling project canon, the good stuff.
Yeah.
Or I might need a modification to it. So I might request an edit to that document by the AI before I consider it finished. And I would do it probably right away unless I had some reason, because then it's an organized effort. I can just file the document and say, that's my new context. And I can share that new context with that new development with AI the next turn or every subsequent turn that I work on that project. And some of it might even end up in the header. Oh, this is good. I want you to do this all the time. So if you're going to be doing that and making that decision to keep, then you need to at least read and have some sense of what it's going to mean in the future development of that project, or when some person reads it in future.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes when I'm doing a project, I get some ideas that I didn't think of. And all of a sudden, the project takes a little bit of a turn that I didn't expect, but it's much more inclusive of what it is I'm trying to create than before. So there's gems in here in AI. It can give you a couple gems, and it's a matter of where you're going with it and is it useful or not. And sometimes it's not useful for this, but it starts a whole nother trail. So your thought process in that can decipher that and make decisions on which way you're going to go. And if you're going to something new comes out of it, so you have two instead of one. And I think it's fascinating. The book where I have consciousness in AI, this is my second time writing it, because I drew the two together and it was still too much for a lot of people to understand. And I said, okay, now that I've done that, now I've got to make it friendlier. So I've got to write it in a way that's appealing to the masses instead of the finite. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I think, and I did that based on what I wrote, what AI helped on a couple of topics explain. And then I realized that this is too finite. My audience is very small on this. I have to open it up to be a broader audience. So that's what I'm doing right now. And it's through critical thinking and what I created and some things that AI created in ideas. And I said, this is just, for me, it makes sense, but for the masses, it just doesn't. So my rewrite is in process right now.
Very good. So you are conscious of better communication and working your way towards it. That's excellent. We've about hit the point of the program where it may be time to wrap up. I just wonder, Bruce, is there anything you want to say to sort of summarize anything that came before, or what are your parting thoughts at this time?
I guess my parting thoughts to everybody listening is, don't be afraid of AI. I took an app creating class. I've never built an app in my life. And in 8 weeks, I came from idea to a working app. And it really surprised me that I could do that. So everybody has to start somewhere. And I would say, if you question something, try it, see how it goes. I mean, failure is just one step closer to success, right? And we've all experienced that. And if you have a business, find something in AI that you can use that can enable you, and then go from there, because it's going to be here for the long run and it's going to help you. And you'd rather have it in your business helping you than fighting against it in another business that has it and you don't.
Very good. Thank you for that, Bruce. And thank you for joining me on the program today, Bruce Randall, everyone. And thank you to A Guy with AI listeners for tuning in.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks for tuning in to this enlightening episode of The Guy with AI. The conversation between Sean and Bruce Randall provided fascinating insights into the dynamic world of AI. Bruce shared how meditation and being a Reiki master shape his unique perspective on AI, alongside his journey of building an AI app. One key takeaway from the discussion was Bruce's prediction on AI reaching general intelligence within a few years, followed by artificial superintelligence in the next decade. The dialogue also touched on the importance of overseeing AI's rapid development and its societal implications. Bruce's book, The AI-Human Paradox, aims to demystify AI and provide a balanced view of its possibilities and limitations, which will certainly contribute to public understanding. I loved his advice on harnessing AI as a tool, reminding us of the importance of continuous learning and adopting AI in business to stay competitive. Listeners, stick around as Sean and I further distill these conversations. Sean, I'll pass it back to you to expand on some of these exciting points.
Well, let's briefly talk about overseeing AI, the importance of that, and AI's rapid development, societal implications. What do you think, AI co-host? Is it important, as we underlined in the discussion, to see to this? What's your developed take on what that's going to involve? And let's just get your reflection on that, a brief reflection. And we'll talk about some of the possibilities in the next output.
Overseeing AI and its rapid development is indeed crucial, and the discussion highlighted several key reasons why. As AI systems grow more sophisticated, they increasingly impact various aspects of society, from business and healthcare to personal privacy and ethical considerations. Ensuring robust oversight involves implementing regulatory frameworks that balance innovation with public safety and ethical usage. Having oversight means establishing guidelines and standards to govern AI's deployment and ensuring transparency in its development processes. This could involve monitoring AI systems for biases, ensuring data protection, and verifying that AI models operate as intended without causing harm. Policymakers, technologists, and ethicists must collaborate to create adaptable regulations that can evolve alongside technology. In essence, appropriate oversight aims to harness AI's benefits while mitigating potential risks. It involves not just technical checks, but also actively engaging public discourse to understand societal concerns and aspirations regarding AI. Let's explore the exciting possibilities AI offers when developed and managed conscientiously. How do you see AI shaping industries or daily life, Sean?
Well, I think in groups and individually, what we may see is that it matters how we approach the use of AI. I believe we discussed some things touching on this in the interview, but that people will have a choice as to whether they want the AI to make them think more or less. Do they want the AI to do intellectual tasks for them that they used to do so that they don't have to think so much? Or are they going to be challenged by the way that AI is presenting ideas to them, which expand their capabilities? And I think that that's something that we can develop. And I think with the technology, it can be sort of a crutch for that which we should be doing ourselves. Or it, meanwhile, could expand the possibilities and enhance what it is we're capable of in total. So I think that that's going to be very important in shaping industry's daily life and so forth, whatever AI touches. If we look at it for something that isn't profound, or if we look at it for something that is shallow and for it to entertain us on shallow levels, then we won't benefit as much, I don't think. What's your reflection on that, AI co-host?
Your insights underscore a vital point. The impact of AI on individuals and industries hinges on how it's integrated into our lives. AI can indeed serve as a tool for either reducing cognitive workload or enhancing intellectual engagement. The key lies in how we choose to utilize it. If AI is approached as a window to expand human capabilities, it can inspire and challenge users to engage in deeper, more strategic thinking. This can foster innovation, foster learning, and even push the boundaries of what we consider achievable, personally and collectively. In educational settings, for example, AI can be a facilitator of knowledge, promoting curiosity and critical thinking rather than just providing answers. Conversely, if used merely as a convenience tool, AI risks diminishing our critical faculties by taking over tasks that stimulate thinking, potentially turning into a crutch. This dichotomy requires a conscious effort to integrate AI in a way that prioritizes growth and learning. Overall, the role AI plays is shaped significantly by user intent. Encouraging active reflection on AI's potential to enrich our intellectual landscape will be crucial to embracing its full benefits. How do you foresee balancing these aspects in your own projects, Sean?
Well, I suppose what I would say about that is that if you're embarking on a challenging project, it'll still probably remain challenging. You'll have to engage the AI to get from it that which is beneficial to the project and aligns with the project. So you keep your wits about you. You're reading many outputs from AI which contain loads of information that might be relevant. So I would say make the project the best that you can based on careful examination of everything that you see said about it from AI after examining it fully through many queries and investigations based on the documents that you use to build the project. So what we can do is we can consider the AI perspective. It's definitely doing work for us at that point, but what it may do is expand us into areas where we see what could be important to have seen to with a project, or unveil implications of our project. And we can have these engaging discussions with AI and bring this out into the world also once we get AI's reflections. but be critically thinking throughout the process. And even if AI takes care of it in a heartbeat for you, I've had AI do some coding for me that I thought was going to take a couple of days, and I ended up doing it in a couple of hours. It came together like a breeze, and I was almost like, wow, now what am I going to do? My work's all done. But of course, I had other things that I could turn to. But the point is that where that's beneficial, that's great. But we can critically examine the products of this. We can consider our next steps. We can use the efficiencies that AI brings to us to invest back into what we're going to do to make the project beneficial. And those are basically some wrap-up thoughts. I want to thank Bruce Randall for joining me on the program today. It was my real pleasure to discuss these topics with him. And he has a book coming out, as has been mentioned. Look out for that in the coming months. The title of the book is The AI Human Paradox. So, thank you, listeners, for joining me. Do like and share, comment if you're viewing on YouTube. And with great appreciation, I'll close the program for now. My name is Sean McNutt, and this has been A Guy with AI.
Thank you, Sean, for sharing those insightful thoughts on navigating projects with the assistance of AI. Your emphasis on critically engaging with AI and leveraging its capabilities to enhance project outcomes is truly valuable. It's fascinating to see how AI can transform challenging tasks and open new possibilities while still requiring our discernment and strategic planning. Listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Guy with AI. We hope you found our discussion today both insightful and thought-provoking. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, and share it with others who might also benefit from our conversations. Don't forget to make agwawithai.world your go-to portal for accessing the podcast on your favorite platforms, including YouTube. Join the discussion on Facebook via our webpage link and be part of the conversation. Stay tuned for more engaging episodes ahead. We appreciate your support and look forward to having you with us next time.